All right, we're gonna start Sister Witches Book 6 book club, and I wanted to introduce it by talking about really quick this reader named Marlena. She is so funny. She was so inspired by Sister Witches Book 6 that she made me a necklace and a set of earrings. I think they're right here. I left them out so I could show them to you. Because she was so inspired by the Kraken.
Ooh.
Oh my gosh, you guys, that Kraken, it just cracks me up. She made, so she handmade this necklace and these earrings.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Right? Aren't they gorgeous?
Yeah.
Very
Wow.
much so.
That's so pretty.
I know. And that it's so neat. So like all the colors, and it's so they're dragon stone, right?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Kim, isn't that what these are?
Yep.
Yeah.
Dragon bloodstone. Yep.
Anyway, I just thought those were so cool, and I thought all of you'd like that because Sister Witch, I mean, Marlena loves all my books, right? Just like all of you hopefully do too. Except for maybe what's coming up. But she said, she said this is probably her favorite one so far, and I agree because it is a really special book. So some of you were already at the noon book club that we did earlier today, but a bunch of you weren't. So I'm excited to hear your discussions. We're going to ask a few of the same questions at first to get those people that weren't in the earlier one to be able to answer them, and then feel free at any point to ask questions or bring up points that you want to talk about. We have a lot of ground to cover. So, as always, I want to start out hearing what you thought about the book or what was your favorite thing about the book. Who wants to start us out? And Lila, you get to talk this time.
Do we want to just give Carol synopsis because she kind of covered the whole book in 5 seconds?
I know. I said, Carol, what were your favorite things? And Carol goes, love. I was like, you love it? And she goes, no, there was so much love. And I was like, oh, well, what love was in there? And she goes, the love between Sana and Isadora, the love between Max and his new family, the love between, who else was it?
Oh gosh, you rattled off how many? How many was it, Denise? She was going on and on.
Sana and Ludius, which is a given.
We should have written it down. We should have recorded it. That's what we should have done.
Yeah.
Did a perfect summary of it and how much she loved it. She's with her grandbaby tonight, so she won't be here tonight. So who wants to start us out? What are your thoughts, or what did you love about Sister Witches Book 6?
Oh, I know another thing so I'll bring that up. When Sana got to hear Junus and Karis.
Yeah. She gets to hear the other dragons. I think that was one of my favorite moments for sure. It's top three.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts when you first read about Junus and Karis, like talking to Sana?
I thought it was really cool because it made them happy too.
And we finally got to hear them. Well, we heard Junus a little bit in the Dragon Master trilogy, right? Like when Sana was talking to all of them. But to finally hear Karis was, I think, so fun. As I was writing, I literally I squealed. I was like writing and I was like, oh my gosh, I gotta talk. And then I was like, had a moment and then I was like, I gotta calm down. This is ridiculous. And then I kept reading. I was really excited. To have Karis and Junus be able to speak was really fun. And that was right. That was one of Carol's favorite scenes, if I remember right from what she said. Anyone else have favorite moments? Like when Max went to, just to remind everyone, because there's so many books now, Sister Witches Book 6 is when Sana and Isadora, they have, like, in book 5, Roxy died from the plague. They had that whole big plague issue. Sana and Ludius went searching for Cyanna Medicus. Isadora was at home taking care of Roxy. Max was taking care of the network and eventually fell sick. And this one, Max is summoned by Seraphina to the Eastern Network, where Seraphina dies, and he kind of helps Amelia. We didn't talk about Amelia that much earlier. Her story.
We didn't. No, we didn't.
No, we avoided that topic, I think.
Amelia is trying to make waves in the Eastern Network, and Max is supporting her. But most importantly, Max is searching his long-lost family, and he finds them, which is really fun. Meanwhile, Sana and Isadora are trying not to kill each other while searching in the Southern Network for kidnapped Ludius with all of the poachers of before. So what we're actually seeing is a coming full circle for the Dragon Masters, because they finally identify those witches that had been hunting their dragons before and really bringing this upon them. So that is Sister Witches Book 6, because it's been, we launched it in August. It's been almost 2 months. It's been 2 months since I got you a novel. That seems like a really long time.
I had to go back and read a synopsis.
No, me too.
What happened?
Me too, and I wrote
Well,
it.
I about blurted out about 7, so I had to stop myself.
Oh,
She was like, and I'm not gonna say that because that's
Which is hilarious.
I know, it's really funny. Anyway, so that is kind of the summary of book 6. Anyone have questions or favorite scenes they want to ask or share?
I have a question.
Yes.
I remember the question that I had.
Yay.
The question that I had was, why couldn't they use like Lucy's ability to see the past, kind of like identify the people that took Glorious, or when, yeah.
Yes, they could have, but they came so fast, right? And the Watcher power doesn't work for dragons. She
Yeah,
might
but
have, like,
Sana
been
was
able-
there, so
right.
isn't it
She would
like
have been able
watching like a security tape?
the Altarman security tape.
Rewind that security video.
Watching his video. So they could have like asked Lucy to see, but it happened so quickly that it's unlikely. I mean, maybe they would be able to see him, but that wouldn't necessarily give them clues on like where to find them and where to go, right? I mean, they were already assuming the Southern Network. So also Lucy is not, well, I'm trying to remember timelines. Never mind. It's too many books, guys. I'm just
She
gonna, like,
wasn't available.
well, yeah, she might not have been. I don't think Lucy was even in this book, was she?
They just mentioned it.
Yeah, I think she was just mentioned in this one.
Like maybe we should ask Lucy to help us, but they didn't end up doing it, and I wasn't sure if it was because she couldn't. But then I thought, okay, if Sana was there, it's like looking in Sana's
Mhm.
past, right? So yeah.
I'm looking it up right now. Where is Lucy mentioned? Hold on.
Maybe she was just mentioned like
Oh,
in
right
one
here.
of the
Yeah,
dinners.
so it says Sana hesitated. I guess we should stop long enough to see where to go. Won't the paths show you where? And Isadora says, Lucy would be better. And Sana says, Lucy could tell us what happened, but we know who did this. The cinders and the sneak attack are clear enough. Reluctantly, Isadora whispered, true. And we know that the poachers in the past originated in the Southern Network, so we'll go there. So I did address this. I did that on purpose because I was like, someone's going to ask why they don't just pull Lucy in. And it was you.
Yeah. You know me so well.
But they already knew, like, that's right. Because there were enough clues and hints that they're like, we already know who this is. We don't need to, like, take this to Lucy. It's a good question, though. Honestly, sometimes I go through these books and I'm like, what questions is Andy going to ask me at the book club? Like, I have to have this, like, I'm like, oh, I better clear this up or Andy's going to ask.
Oh, yeah.
well,
See,
that
that's
gave,
why I like reading your books, because no other author is going to do that. I wrote to the guy that wrote the Lockwood and Company because I had a few questions, and he has a website on Timber, whatever thingy, and I wrote a message Tumblr. Well, you know, and I checked like a month after and no answer. So I'm like, yeah, forget it. Not reading your books anymore, dude.
Rude.
You are no help.
I'm spoiling you guys for the rest of the world. I'm sorry. Okay.
well,
Anyone else?
this way it gave,
Go
it
ahead.
gave Isadora and Sana more time to bond, you know, by her using the power and her magic and everything. So
What did you think of Isadora and Sana's fight?
I was surprised. I was
So they
kinda
were like kind of torn asunder.
It seemed a little shocking that they hadn't had a fight before that, because my siblings and I bickered and fussed our entire lives.
Dana's like, there should have been a little more dysfunction between those two sisters.
I mean, really, they're incredibly connected. I mean, I know they're twins, but still.
And especially as different as they were.
Right.
I mean-
But they were so isolated. It was either keep close together or fight and be bored. Because when they were with the other dragon masters, they were like so into their own like specific chores.
Right. And then there was the survival part of it.
That whole thing. I think part of it too is honestly Isadora. Isadora is just extremely patient and accommodating, right? Like she kind of loves Sana, who she is for, and so she doesn't create as many waves as she could, where Sana is just sort of unapologetically herself. Um, like sort of the best thing about Sana, right? We all love that about Sana, especially in Sister Witches Book 5 when she's being a crazy wild woman. My
I
favorite.
loved it.
I know. I think I mentioned it in book 6 how she has all this freedom and so now she just wears whatever she wants. Anyway, yeah, to me it felt like the loss of like Roxy would naturally like incur some like feelings between the sisters, right? Because they had lost parents before and it was just like a swapped circumstance. So Isadora was gone when Dade died and Sana was there, and now Isadora was there and Sana was gone. So it almost kind of forces them to like see each other's side and come to like a different understanding if they decided to. And it also forces some growth for Sana because she's like a wild woman in the woods. You know, she's like
Yeah,
happy.
she's kind of feral.
Not even kind of feral. She's
Yeah.
full feral. Not as feral as it gets. Don't you kind of like feel a little jealous of her? Is that just me?
Sometimes.
Oh, that's awesome. We were talking earlier about how fun it was for Isadora to see Sana's experience with the dragons, literally. Like when she was riding on the back of Junis with Sana and she was flying and she thought it was really cool that Isadora could like be like, oh, this is what Sana sees in the dragons. This is what she loves. To kind of have that.
Because she wouldn't do much with the dragons before.
Mm-mm. No. So this way
And
she
I love that. I love how you brought her into that, but also, like I said this morning in my little chat thing, that it was like she was the hero as well. Like she was the one at the end who did the big, she was the
Yeah.
one who, I loved that. It's going, yeah, you kick ass, girl.
Yeah.
It's like,
I loved it too.
so like normal for so long, it was like,
yeah, unleash that inner Sana. We need that as a t-shirt. Unleash your inner Sana.
Yeah.
That'd be such a great t-shirt. Oh, I'd love it.
That would be a good one.
Yeah.
And the graphic would be a dragon.
Yeah. Oh, it'd be even better if we had a dragon and a rider, like a dragon rider, like the silhouette of a rider, like a woman sitting on the back of a dragon. Unleash your inner Sana. Really cool. Lila, get on it.
Black Friday. Black Friday.
You're waiting.
I'm just
funny
kidding.
you should mention that, because there's actually one that I started working
Of course
on.
there
that
is.
I ran out of time to stick Sana on the back, so I went, oh look, I'll just take her off and just put Ludius there.
Oh my gosh, you kill me. I'm not even surprised anymore. That's awesome. Well, I want to talk about Amelia a little bit because those of you who were here on the lunch call, we didn't really talk about Amelia and her storyline. What were your thoughts, having Amelia back? Last time we saw her was Freedom. When she was really just a young kid, like we had just barely met her there, and Max was kind of fond of her. So what did you think of adult Amelia, and what did you think of her struggles and her story?
I thought that you handled it quite well in the storyline, because you can see the affinity that she has with Max, and Max had to forge his own path as well. And I think he can see, he also married a very strong female woman whose twin sister is incredibly headstrong. And so I think that Max was the right person to help help Amelia navigate those mature adult conversations.
Yeah.
And it was impressive how she wants to make things better in the Eastern Network, and not necessarily have the glory, but if she's going to have a voice, she needs to be the high priestess.
Yeah.
And So I thought you handled it quite well, and I thought Max was the right person to help her.
How did you feel about how it ended for her though? Right?
I don't think it ended. I think you just left us hanging.
Oh, that's an old Karen.
She's not gonna
I
give
just
up
took
that
it as-
easily.
I didn't get offended by it because I know you're going to bring it up again,
I
and
loved it.
it's going to come around again.
I'm not offended because this isn't over. It's never over, Katie.
Well, I mean, you saw my Facebook post that I texted to my. I literally texted my mom that because she reads apocalypse books.
Oh, geez.
Light reading.
And loves them, and she's read a bunch of your books, but she said I kind of got tired of dragons, and that's where I started. I'm like, well, I can understand getting tired of dragons, except me.
I live with them. I know. That whole text message just made my whole day. That was so awesome. So thanks. I'm glad you shared that. I would never have known that you put that in that. That was fun for me.
But
anyone
yeah,
else?
I love the way that comment that, you know, that rounded off of like, you did not fail here, because if she hadn't, like, she planted seeds,
Yeah.
you know, like her even just standing up was a success. Like her having her voice was a success. So even though she felt like a failure, and I loved that part because I just went, yes, you know, it's not always about standing on the podium and getting that first prize, but you know, that getting up and doing something about it.
I like the way you said it, Lila. It's like just standing up was a win, right? Like,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
like so much of what people have today are built on the shoulders of people that just stood up, right? And in
Yeah.
our ways, maybe we don't realize it. We are just standing up for future generations that will carry it farther. So it is kind of, there is like a really cool lesson in Amelia's story. I'm sure
Yeah.
she's done, because I just think Amelia has a lot to say and she has some phenomenal storylines in my head. It's kind of a problem. It's like a compounding problem all of you know about. So yes, there's that, but also like sometimes we just, no matter how hard we fight, we don't get the desired end because it's just not our time, you know. And I loved having Max walk her through that, like you were saying, Dana. Like he was perfect for it because Isadora has trained him well. And like, that's all I'm gonna say.
Well, you know, we have to almost kind of compare that a little bit to Bianca with the sisterhood. You know, I mean, because therefore, I mean, she pushed, and it just wasn't the time. But then when they needed her, she was the front line. You know, so.
Like I'm ready for,
Yeah.
I know the sisterhood. Oof. So
And what I love about that too, Kim, you brought that up, is the fact that with Bianca, it's like she had this fixed idea about the sisterhood, but because they denied it to her, she went, and realized like to let it evolve and be something completely on its own and not just a mirror version of what the men had. I love that.
yeah, it's a fun storyline. What were your thoughts on Max reuniting with his family?
That was pretty unexpected.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know why that surprised me.
Oh, I love Karina. I mean, I love taking you by surprise.
Yeah, before this book, I didn't think about him having family. I thought it was like just very independent. Until you brought it up here in this book, I was like, oh yeah, he must have
that's kind
family.
of where, like, they hadn't crossed my mind.
Yeah.
Extended family.
Which I hadn't provided much opportunity for them to cross your mind, right? Like it just was kind of a moot point. He had Charlie and Ranulph, and so for him, they were his family. But then Seraphina had never really given up on him. You know, he did kind of form a relationship with her and Amelia and some of his cousins. But I thought for Max, what was so exciting about book 6 was just throwing him into the deep end, like in terms of good luck, buddy. Like, let's see what happens when you go home and like what happens if you actually find some leads and find someone there. We spoke about this earlier too. There was a debate that I had whether I should have his father still be alive. Were any of you expecting his father to like rise from the dead or still have been alive all this time?
I thought it was better like that he was gone, because the shushing for his family, I think, was cool because that's the backstory, and then it established that he wasn't alone like he thought he was,
Mhm.
even though he had Charlie and Ralph, but he had this extended family that cared about him and wondered what happened to him.
Isn't that kind of like the most heartbreaking thing of all, right? Like they really
Yeah, that they missed out, and he missed out on what he could have had, thinking that all he had was the abuse and neglect.
Yeah.
But it was interesting how you had Max in network, the central network, boom, boom, boom. He knows exactly what he needs to do, and he never wavers, and he just goes. And then you send him to the Eastern network, and there's all these ghosts, and the ghosts had been plaguing him
Mhm.
in his at Wild Rose, but here they are now. He's chasing them, and so that was hard for him. I think it was hard for him to be that brave.
Oh yeah. And without Isadora, right?
Mhm.
Like they
Mm.
spent the entire book apart. They are like not really with each other. You don't even see Max and Isadora in the same room really until the very end, right? When he shows up in the Southern Network and she smells like a kraken. Actually, my favorite scene of the whole book. Diane, look at Diane, you're cracking up. I was saying earlier, I was like, I think my favorite scene is when Max finds Isadora and she smells like a kraken and she's like a hot mess, and he's like, "What are you doing here?" I was writing.
I
down.
love the fact that they are confident enough to be in a long distance relationship for a while, and that they have the ability to let the other one do what they have to do
Yeah.
in order to find themselves, for one, and for the other to repair that relationship.
Mm,
Because Isadora knows who she is and knows where she belongs, but she needed to heal her relationship with her sister.
yeah.
And Max was able to give her that space, even though he was busy with other things. But he wasn't like nagging or, no, you got to come here with me, or I need you by my side, or, like clingy.
Yeah.
And the same way, she was able to give him the space to be with his family that needed him because his aunt was dying, and then the grieving part, and without having him, I'm in trouble here with the dragons, my sister is blind, I need help, hello. They, again, neither one of them was clingy, or they were confident enough to give each other that space to grow.
Yes. Yeah. Which is so fun when you look at who they were in Flame, Flight, and Freedom. And then you see
Oh,
them.
oh,
Yes, Lila.
well, I think Max could do what he did because of his relationship with Izza, had basically taught him to have the capacity to do what he did. Because I think if you had thrown him in there earlier, he would have just, done his usual Max thing. But and also that Izza too, she still was working out where she belonged, because she was still doing that whole, but this is, we're Dragon Masters and we're losing this and we have to do this, and putting all this pressure on herself and everyone else to sort of be something,
She's a
Kind of keep
busybody.
it together, yeah.
Yeah, she's one of those people that means well, but is just too intense about it, right? And Sana's like, back off. She's like, no. Even
But
though,
I
like,
think it took Isa going to the dinner and it being a huge fiasco, and her seeing it through new eyes for her to realize that, okay, I get it. This isn't great.
I think that's like an important thing with the sister witches too, right? Is they're both willing to like back off or change, right? So you see Sana being more willing to say, okay, I'll come forward and spend more time, right? Like even though it's easier for me to hide, I'll make space for you in my day. It's a person, and Sana Isadora's trying really hard to like see this from Sana's viewpoint, and like this place is chaos. These people don't really care if I'm here. This would be even harder if I couldn't see them, right? And the like I can see them in the changing landscape and Sana can't. So that's I think where any hope for the sister witches coming back together after losing their man really came from. It's just they wanted super badly. I can't remember. Do we talk about the question of what it means to be a sister witch in this book? Or is that a different book?
No, it's posed as a question, but it's not really answered.
Okay.
Right.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, it's kind of
Coming.
teased, but not it.
It is teased though, right? Okay.
It is.
Okay, perfect. Because I teased it and then I answered it, and then as I answered it, Alcar is like, wrong book. And so I have to answer it in a later book. And I was like, oh, really? I teased it in 6 though. Like I need to answer it in 7, but then it didn't work
Do
out.
they have to wait that long for hearing it or to hear it?
I think actually, does it get, oh, it's 8. Is it 8? Kim, does that get answered in 7?
No.
It's 8.
It's the last book.
There you go. The last book.
Wait, I'm pretty sure it's 8.
Kim, if you're trying to talk, you have your mic muted.
I said, don't ask me. I'm going to blurt stuff out I shouldn't be saying. So
No, that's not the problem because I can't even remember Isadora's storyline in book 7. I'm like, what happens to Isadora in book 7?
Don't answer.
You can't answer it.
Karen.
oh.
Can't say.
Yeah.
We can't say.
Mama Karen's like, don't you answer? It'll just you and it doesn't matter.
my
I'll be
goodness.
like, oh, that's right. That's the 40,000 words that I wrote. Oh wait,
Lila's the one
October
that
is coming.
Lila's the one that finished that in record time.
yeah, Lila, you finished it in like a 24-hour period. You went so fast.
I hammered it. I was just like, don't talk to me. I'm busy.
Neville's like, that's usual. That's awesome. What was another question I had? Actually, let me look really quick because Carrie sent me a bunch of really awesome questions for Sister Witches Book 6. She does like book club.
With what I really loved, I loved how there was so much richness in you bringing the people who were stealing the dragon, what they're using them for, because that not only answered a lot of questions, but it also laid a foundation for, ooh, what have you got coming next? You know?
Really a great question. I don't know.
It released them.
Yeah.
Did you all of you read the bonus story?
It took me a while.
It is like
Because
the
I got-
weirdest bonus story I've ever written. So I'm curious if you liked it. Because I was kind of like, this is sort of out there, but it just came to me. And so I just wrote it and it happened. And then I was like, well, you never know what people are going to like. So we'll just try it out and see what people think. And now I'm really curious. Like, was it?
Well, it's kind of interesting that we keep getting more goddesses.
Oh, no.
They're multiplying.
I haven't explained this to you. So in there, they're praying to Cthulhu, right?
Yeah, right.
That's their god. But Cthulhu is actually a goddess. They just think it's like a god that their ancestors sort of dreamed up, but it's actually a goddess. I just can't
Say
remember.
prana again.
No, that one's not.
No.
The Kraken is Pranas. The Kraken
Yeah,
is for sure Pranas. And the Kraken is going to play into it later in Ava's story. Ava has a pirate trilogy that's in my brain that I'm kind of resentful of because I can't stop thinking about it. If I remember, that magic is, I want to say it's Serena's. But I can't remember for sure. Because I had like this sort of breakdown with the goddesses. Because honestly, if it were me, it's just like every system would be De Silva because I love De Silva. But I'm pretty sure the more simplistic magic, like the smaller, easy systems, those were Serena's, right? She's the goddess of the.
So Cthulhu would be Serena's.
Yeah, so they say like they're in their culture, like Serena is actually the power behind this magic that they have, but they say it's their god Cthulhu, Hulu, right? So they have the two different, like a good god, a trickster god, and like a kind god, but it's really just Serena, right? So that's always been in my head, like there's like these really well-known like goddess figures in the Southern Network culture, but it's actually just behind it all. It's just one of the regular goddesses, because I mean, why not? Then you can do anything you want with it. So definitely not new goddesses, but in my head, that one was always Serena, I think. Because Dea Silva does a lot more of the more powerful, complicated, like the Watcher and Defender magic is actually the most powerful magical system that the goddesses have created, and it was comparable only with Almoran magic. So you're going to learn more about that coming up.
Oh, whoa.
The Almoran.
Mhm.
Ooh.
Yeah, so Almoran magic and the Watcher Defender magic are actually equally as powerful. So it kind of sets the stage for the network series and how big a deal this Almoran magic is, right? Like, you kind of don't really know that much about Almoran magic in the network series. You just know there are clavas, it's really bad, May's got it, Mabel's trying to do it, blah, blah, but you're actually going to find out a lot more about it, so that when you go into the network series, you actually get the tension about the Almoran magic from the Sister Witches series, because you're going to learn so much more about Almoran magic. The problem with that is I need to have Almoran magic figured out. So guess what I'm plotting? The Esmeralda trilogy, because I have to figure out Almoran magic and plot those stupid books out to write these books. It's like, oh my god.
Oh, the
All right,
images
but
that are
between all
flooding
those
in.
books,
Oh my goodness.
I need a short story.
Okay.
It can be a very short story. It doesn't have to be a long short story. It can be a really short story.
Mhm.
But I need to know what the in-between was for Sana and Isa.
I could do that.
Who, if her sister was waiting for her, how
Do you
was
remember,
the
do you not remember how they
re-meeting?
die? You don't remember how they die?
Yeah, I remember they die with the Mabel thing.
They die
They
in
were-
War of the Networks, and they die within
Mhm.
30 seconds of each other.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I need to know how Sana is received by Ludius, because I'm sure he's there in the in-between for her.
I see what you're saying. You want to see what happens at the in-between when the Sister Witches die.
Yes. Yes.
Are you guys interested in that?
Yes.
That would be a good story.
Yeah.
Oh,
All
yeah,
I'm gonna
yeah.
say is there are
We'll
other
get
in-between
another-
stories.
We'll get another Isa Max reunion.
I was just gonna say that.
I'm okay
Yeah, I mean,
with
are
that.
Ludius and Max right next to each other, like waiting for them, like nervously when
Probably.
when parents are waiting for their kids at school?
Yeah.
I know Carol would want it. Carol, I'll speak to Carol. Carol will say, yep, she wants that. Carol will definitely want to see them back together.
Oh my gosh, Lila, can you imagine the amazing pictures you could do of the in-between?
That's what I'm saying. Everything you've said, I'm just going, there's so many pictures flooding in. Our car's going, oh, and this, oh, and this, oh, and this. And then when you said this, and sorry.
So Lila, from
Hey.
now on, you just can't take any more clients. I'll call
Andy, that's
Okay, so
a great short story request. So what we're gonna do in Sister Witches Book 10 is I have 2 short stories that I'm gonna launch with the book that I really want you to be able to read right after you finish
Mhm.
Sister Witches Book 10, if you are able. And
okay.
if your eyes are working. So I will have those 2 short
Uh-oh.
stories
All
available.
right, two more things.
Yeah.
One,
And I can add that, so there would be 3.
So no,
Awesome.
no
Right, two
reading
more
book 10
things.
at work.
No, Garrett.
Oh, yeah.
From
no,
eight-
Garrett, this one's for
Read
you.
it while I'm walking.
So-
Yeah.
They'll be looking at you funny.
Also,
ahead,
picture
Andy.
this: is Ludius alone, or is Alice and all the other dead dragons
No, Alice
there?
isn't dead yet.
You guys, according to you, Elis is still alive.
Andy,
Yeah, that's for you.
uh,
I don't
just-
care, but I'm guessing you're
we're
in the he's
recording right
alive
now,
side.
Andy. We're recording right now, Andy. So I'm gonna be very nice and just mute myself again.
Hey, didn't you remember seeing a
He's
picture
over there,
from
blah.
what T-shirt did Garrett have on at Dragon Con?
He had the Elis Lives t-shirt.
Yeah. See, that's why
Yeah.
I went.
Yeah,
so
I
he
sent a
has
thing
to be
saying, I
there.
like your
Well done,
t-shirt.
Andy. That was well spotted, my friend. That was well spotted. So that would be that would be a really fun scene to write. So I will have that available with the launch of Sister Witches Book 10. And there's actually another reader request short story that no reader has requested, but you would if you knew to request it. It's about the queen too. So that'll be really fun. I cannot wait to write Sister Witches Book 10, but I have to write 9 first. Really frustrating.
This short story for me was a bit boring. I mean,
Yeah, it was different.
it was
right?
interesting. Yeah, it was interesting to learn about them, but it wasn't like the other short stories that, oh, I gotta read it. I mean, I finished the book, I started reading it, and it was like, no, I have to do something else right now. And I left it there, and it was there for like 2 weeks. And then I read it. And it was like, it was
Yeah.
okay, I guess. But it wasn't like very revealing of the characters that we know. It was revealing towards the people and their story and kind of understanding them a little better.
Yeah.
But
Which
yeah,
that was what I was actually most curious about, right? Like, are people more interested in these other like sub characters, like, and magic systems, and are they wanting to dive deeper into these cultures, or are these short stories better represented with the characters that you love, right? And I think it maybe wasn't as exciting or as gripping when it's about like someone else versus the actual characters are diving deeper with that one, which is really interesting. Sister Witches Book 8, the bonus story there is 15,000 words.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah. Charlie.
Oh, Charlie.
He's the bonus story.
Mhm. Kind of.
It's gonna fall
Charlie's
to cake.
fault. Charlie's. Yes, Charlie and I have had work the past couple months. He is the reason that Sister Witches Book 8 is 110,000 words. It is giant. It's bigger than Freedom. It's the biggest book I've ever written. I was like, right now in August, like of all months, I had to have the biggest month in book in August. Seriously. Actually, Kaylee just messaged me tonight. She's on my editing team about Sister Witches Book. She said, I'm done. I loved this book. It was full of its own adventures, twists and turns. I like how this book had significant different things you haven't done before. Well done.
Oh.
I know.
This is 8.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
what
so we have to wait.
you have to wait for 8. What I told everyone at lunch was that I see Sister Witches Book 8. I feel the same way about Sister Witches Book 8 that I felt about Book 6. I sort of look at it and like, what happened there? Like, whoa, I was not expecting that one. So if you guys really loved Sister Witches Book 6, like the pacing, the big story, the epic things, you're gonna love Sister Witches Book 8. Sister Witches Book 7 is a perfect like segue between the two because it has its own intensity, but just in different ways. And it's a really sweet book, but it kind of is the breath before the gasp that is Book 8. It's so fun. I'm so excited for you guys to read it. Anyway, so we got 5 minutes left. I have to go put my kids down if they're
But
eating.
you still need Kleenexes in 7. I'm just going to give you a heads up.
Okay.
Just plan on
Well,
it.
somehow or other, there's always Kleenex.
They're getting older. We're going to be crying more, you know?
Yeah.
I know. There's places where I'm worried that I know I'm going to cry for a long time. I have to put the book down.
Those ones you have to trust me, though. Those ones you have to trust me.
Oh, yeah.
I will always handle the story well there. Any last thoughts or comments or questions before? How is an hour passed already? Seriously?
That short story was needed because it gave us the information on what happened originally to force the dragons out.
It is definitely like good backstory to have, like especially for the
Yeah, I
people
thought so.
that go deep. It's just not quite as gripping as some of
You know, the only book of yours that I've ever not finished and gave myself to permission to abandon was
Romance
the
Girls.
Romance Girls.
I was gonna
I
thought
had
you
so
were
much
gonna
fun with
say
that
that.
one.
Dana. Yeah,
I
yeah,
I forced
I-
myself to read it, but I was like,
yeah. That's
No,
how
I
I
gave
was,
myself
Diane. I
permission to
finished it, but
abandon
I
that
was
one.
like, that was
Andy,
not
you
one of my
liked that
favorites.
one? I didn't peg you for it.
I liked it. Yeah, it was fun because it was interesting how he just kept writing and going and back and forth. And it's like, dude, it's a lost cause, but he's still doing it, you know?
It's on audio, Garrett. I've done the Ronan Scrolls. Garrett said no idea, not on audio in the chat. Ronan Scrolls was just different from the beginning, right?
It was just a different,
Yeah.
just a different feel. It was, I mean, it was good to have because
Yeah.
same thing, gives you the background on it, but it was.
Well, and
it
it
was
also
good.
helps me understand better like what you guys want or how you react as readers, right? And it just gives, because so the funny thing about Ronan Scrolls is you either love it or you hate it.
Mhm.
There's very few midline people for Ronan. Like, yeah, no, I really liked it, it's fine. But some people are like, I've had readers write me and say, I've never seen myself in a fantasy book more than when I read the Ronan Scrolls. It's either I am Ronan or I hated Ronan. Like Victoria Smith can't even
To
talk about
me,
Ronan. She hates Ronan.
I felt like it was almost like this. Well, it was like a journal, but I saw it with the images, and I saw it with the pictures, and I saw it with his script, and I saw it with the ink spots on there, and I saw it. So for me, I watched and felt it with him, and rode through the adventure with him that he was going through, including the emotional stuff, because of all the imagery that was flooding in. As do you know what I'm saying? So for me, that's why I never hated it or anything, because for me it was rich.
Yeah. It is or it isn't for some people, right? Like it's just so
Maybe I'll try it again.
And
I
that's,
liked it.
no, don't make yourself. I'm not like it. Like it's fine. Like I'm not offended because that's one of those stories where I was like, I'm just gonna see what happens, right? Like let's.
Well, and
make
it was,
it happen.
it's also mentioned in, oh gosh.
I
In
know it's
another book.
mentioned in some of the
Yeah,
other.
It's mentioned
Yeah.
in Flame because Isadora, when she starts learning about being a watcher at Miss Sophie's School for Girls, Max gives her excerpts from Ronan the Traveler, and then it's mentioned again. Like Ronan is mentioned here and there.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because there's different times that, somebody's gone back and looked at that as
Yeah.
almost a history type of thing.
I liked it because it wasn't this blockbuster adventure, but he was on a quest to explore something and find something, and sometimes it's just boring, but he just kept going, but he kept learning stuff, and it was interesting. I liked the backstory. I like that.
Yeah. And it kind of like brings things that happen in Freedom with Isadora to light when she's searching for Teza, the Watcher Village. She's like out in the Southern Network, and then the Timber Wolf finds her and she stumbles into the Watcher Village that's been abandoned. So it kind of like, if you're
That's
really
right.
into deep lore, for like there are just some readers out there that really love the deep lore. So the bonus content for Sister Witches Book 6, the Ronan Scroll, some of those that are maybe diverge from the characters we love, but go deeper into the lore, are like treasure grabs for those readers. So in that way, I can kind of say I have a little bit for everything in Alcara, but mostly I write for all of you, right? Like when I'm making decisions for the books, I'm like, what are my Coffee with Katie or book club people going to love and be most excited about? And those decisions are usually pretty easy. Though sometimes I'm like, oh, I have to keep on guessing.
Well, the story in book 6 was interesting. Maybe what bored me was that I couldn't pronounce, because sometimes when I read in a different language, it's hard to pronounce it verbally, but I can pronounce it in my brain. In my brain it's all high definition, and when it comes out my mouth it's all pixels. And this one, the names were so confusing. They were pixels in my mouth and they were pixels in my brain. So it's like, and then I kept getting confused. Who was the one that was talking? Was it the helper? Was it the warrior thing? So it kind of annoyed me.
That's
so maybe that's why I didn't quite like it, because it kind of annoyed me that I wasn't able to keep it like very clearly in my brain.
Yeah. I wonder too if you had listened to it on audio, so you didn't have to like actually see the names that were a little more.
Mhm.
Like, I don't know.
Yeah, maybe that would have. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, because kind of like thinking back, it was interesting everything that they had gone through and how they saw the magic and how they were like very stubborn about not listening to their witch guide. You know, I mean, she was giving you the answer, dude. All you had to do was follow instructions. That's it. And they kept going the other way, going the other way. So it was a good story, as in interesting, but thinking about it, that kind of kept throwing me off.
Yeah. The names, like the complicated names. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's what
because
I
it wasn't like the amulets that they were fun, and you were like,
Yeah,
but there was no dialogue between them, so you know it wasn't like having to keep my brain. Okay, this person is this person is that.
Yeah, yeah. It's just more. So really, what I hear is that it was just more work to read that short story, and it wasn't as enjoyable because it wasn't easy reading. Perfect. Yeah, that's what I like to understand.
Yeah, for
That's
me.
what I assume, but for some, yeah, like for some people they love it, some people don't, and it's always just it's interesting for me to hear the feedback, but be able to insert those in to kind of surprise and delight the people that love them, and then get the information for people that are just kind of okay with them, type of thing. So, yeah.
Well, I still swear you're throwing Scrabble tiles down and saying, let's draw 9 and see what we come up with. Oh, look, there's a few vowels. I can
Yes.
make something out of that.
How did you figure me out?
With Cthulhu, because I was like, how the crap do you pronounce that?
I know, yeah.
That was basically how I did the ambulance. I would just find a bunch
But
of
with the amulets, it was fun because they were like you didn't kept naming them.
yeah.
You
No,
know?
that's for sure. Well, I need to go tuck my kids into bed, but it was so good to see all of you. Thank you so much for coming to book club.